Happy New Year. At least it will be in a couple of days. How are y'all doing? If you knew what I had to do to get here to record today's episode, but you know what? We'll talk about it another time. I need to record this in less than 10 minutes because I'm doing this in between meetings, but I am committed to coming to you every week. So how you been? It's also fitting that I'm recording this on December 30th, 2024. Today is a new moon in Capricorn. I'm starting this off because it's very appropriate considering this episode's title. New moons are about new beginnings. It is about set some intentions. It's about what happened last month. It's a new month. It don't matter. But there's something else particularly special about this new moon is that Pluto is not in the sign of Capricorn anymore. Pluto, it does a lot of things. But one thing it does for sure is it takes it too far every single time. It is like, if you say like you went to college, because most of y'all went to, and, back in my day, I know they still have these, but like community bathrooms, or even if you just had to share a room or an apartment with somebody, especially if their hair texture was not in the 4 family, it was not a 4A, 4B, 4C situation. They wash their hair more often. And so every now and then, somebody had to come in and snake the drain because hair and all the products that are used get all gunked up and clunked up inside the drain. And then the drain starts backing up. And so they got to come take this like long, skinny little plastic thing, I guess it's called a snake. And they do a little diddy-do, I don't know. And they bring out these huge clumps of hair and grunge. That is how I think about Pluto. Pluto's job is, it doesn't do like surface level. It doesn't do the nice, pretty. It's not nice, pretty astrology. Whenever Pluto was in a sign, it's like, no, I want to go to the depths. I want to pull up the hair clumps and the gunk and the grudge and get that on out so that you can do what you're supposed to do. So Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn for past 16, 17 years. Capricorn is about like foundational structures. It is about building something permanent, long lasting. It is about doing the work necessary so that you can enjoy what comes after doing a days of hard work and whatever that looks like. Money, for the fame, for the thrill of doing hard work, It makes me think about like a Capricorn spirit, if you will, is Beyonce putting in over almost 40 years of work ethic, like working nonstop all day, every day for most of her life to get to the point where we had Beyonce Bowl last week. And what was it like? I don't know. I want to go look it up. Let's see. How many millions of people watched that? I'm gonna ask the Googles. Y'all can hear me. I know I said I only had 10 minutes. How many people watched? 27 million people watched that. 27 million people. I feel like it had to be bigger than that, but whatever. 27 million people watched that. That is like, okay, let me make this be clear. Capricorn energy. I'm not talking about individual people. I'm saying Capricorn energy is one that is, I'm going to put in the work for 30, 40 years. I'm going to grind. I'm going to keep pushing for this moment to get to a point where I take over a holiday and 27 million people stop their holiday or their day to watch me. It is for that moment, right? It's not solely for the moment, but you get what I'm saying. It's for the legacy of it all. That's the energy. But because Pluto has been here for almost 2 decades, it would feel like, and so I want you to reflect back on your life since like 2007, 2008. It would feel like you were working, you were putting in hours, and it felt like no matter how much you were pushing, how much you were going forward, it just didn't quite work out the way that you knew it should. Like when I think about me, 2008, okay, I was like, I'm supposed to be done with this undergraduate degree. And yeah, here I am. I got to do a whole nother year because of a ex-boyfriend who done lost his mind. That's another story for another time. But I had to do a whole nother year. We're in the middle of one of the Great Recession. I don't even know what that means in 2008, but I felt it. I felt it as a college student, being like, even if I could graduate, what are my options? Because it don't look like people are hiring. And fortunately, having a mentor who's like, no, girl, when you graduate, you're going to let these people pay for you to go get a master's degree. You're going to do this thing called student affairs, and you're going to go get a master's degree. And from 2008 to this point, I can name so vividly so many situations and all the extra internships, all the extra committees, all the extra, like, the long hours. Okay, I used to work in university housing. Okay, for those of you who don't understand, like, think about when you were in school, your RA had a boss. That boss was called a hall director. I was a hall director for a very long time. And I wasn't just a hall director, which means I lived with a bunch of 18-year-olds who living on their own for the first time. Y'all, I got stories. But not only was I doing that, I always did above and beyond. I always was like, can I do this extra project? Can I create this whole software system for you? Can I create this whole training for your 1,000+ staff? I was always doing the most. And it felt like no matter how much I showed people, how much I exceeded their expectations, they were still like, yeah, but it's not good enough. There was always some reason as to why I wasn't good enough to move on. I was too young. I didn't have the right degree. Oh, you have a degree, but you don't have enough years of experience. Oh, you got the years of experience, but we need this type of experience. But it was always something. I always felt like the goalpost was moving. Even getting into business, I'm like, what more do I need to do? Okay, because I know I'm working the girls under the table, and yet my numbers are not looking like their numbers, and I'm confused. This whole time, I've been thinking like, oh, it's a me thing. I'm not working hard enough. And then something about Capricorn energy, which is really Saturn energy. I'm going to make this, I promise I'm going to link this. Right? Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So is Aquarius in ancient astrology. And Saturn is all about this, like, do the work. And just when you think you've done the work that you've been asked to do, Saturn is really funny. And it's like, haha, here's a new level for you to unlock. But on the other side of you doing all this hard work, you come out with stronger boundaries, a stronger work ethic. And not only will you be able to achieve success, you'll be able to sustain success. So we're in this very, like, Saturnian place energy with Pluto, who's like, not only are you going to do the work so that you can grow and be the person who can handle the success that's coming, we also gonna need to, like, clean out all the things that you've been avoiding. So when I think about me, it's like all of those enmeshed relationships that I had with poor boundaries, they had to go. All of those habits that I had, that I was taught, that were not, that they couldn't go with me to this next level. They had to go. And that takes a lot of time and energy to unwound, like, those habits and those relationships. What I understand now that I did not understand over these past 16 or 17 years is that success doesn't just come down to how hard you work or who you know. It is also, sometimes it is, I would say a lot of times, it's your own habits that got you to a certain place. So as a first generation student from a working class background, some of the habits I had were necessary to get me to the end of an undergrad degree, to get me through a master's degree and a PhD, to get me to my first jobs in higher ed. But then those same strategies that helped me to be so successful, that helped me to do stuff that, like, to accomplish things that no one else in, like, a lot of people in my family were not able to accomplish, those very habits begin to work against me in business. You got somebody need to catch this. The very things that helped you to survive where you come from will start to work against you. And it is a mind trick because you're like, no, this is what helped me. And now you're saying I gotta let it go. And then it becomes like this change or loss of identity. I was feeling for a very long time like I'm a sellout. That was my like, if I had to like point, like aim it down, like I kept being like, I'm a sellout. I can't do these things in this way. The other part is some of us, or sometimes people are around us and they're blocking our blessings because we want to hold on to certain relationships because we want to like, oh, this been my person from day one. We want to hold on to these relationships that we know we've outgrown, that we know we don't got no boundaries. We know we ain't got no business being in. We know these people can't go with us no matter how much we want them to go with us. We know that we got to let them go, but because it's familiar, because it's comfortable, because starting to get to a place where nothing looks safe, like nothing looks familiar because it's all new, you want to hold on to what feels very much like home, what feels like comfort, what feels like what your brain is telling you, at least what my brain was telling me, is if you still have these people around you, if you still do things in the way that you've been doing it, then it proves that you're not a sellout. It proves that you haven't forgotten where you come from. And me wanting to cling on to these things and these people was what was holding me back. Pluto was like, hey girl, hey, we're not doing none of that. And so even though I was clinging for life, Pluto was like, we done. It was the snake in the drain that like cleared all that up. And it happened in rapid succession. It probably would have happened earlier if I understood, maybe. But it happened. So when I think back to 2020, at the end of 2021, 2022, 2023, Pluto was like, since you won't listen, watch this. And it took all of those relationships, all of those habits, all of those environments that I kept trying to cling to and try to bring along with me, it got drugged out. And now I'm at a place, and you might be at this place, where I feel real nervous about moving forward. I feel real nervous about the goals that I have for 2025. But if I like pause and I take a step back, it does not feel the way it felt even last year, even 6 months ago, even 2 years ago. I have a sense of calmness, of certainty that I've never had before. And that is very indicative of this new moon. Maybe yours isn't about, relationships or environments. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you desperately just want to get to your first 10 clients. Maybe you've been sitting here, you've been thinking over this winter break, like 2025 is going to be the year that I for real take this business seriously, that I stop dabbling and, writing it on the vision board and writing it in the notebook of how, I just can't, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to do all the things. Maybe you have been sitting there being like, but what if I'm not broken? Like, what if I can be successful at business? And I want to say, what if it's true? What if it's true? What if Pluto moving on to a new area of our life? We'll get to that later. What if this new moon is your opportunity to recommit? What if it's not going to be as hard as it was the other times that you tried? What if this is just the fresh start that you needed? I want you to think about that, because new moons are a time to set new intentions. So there's a lot of rituals you can do in a new moon. My friend Danielle would say, clean your house, pour some salt and some cinnamon out the front door, okay? And then write down your intentions. And that's, what do you want to happen over when you think about the next 28 days, if anything could happen, what would you love to happen? When it comes to your business over the next 28 days before the end of January, what would you love for like to happen? Do you want a new client? Do you want more followers? Like, what is it? Do you want to just finally feel good about your business again? Write down what you want. You don't have to believe 1000% that it's going to happen, but I want you to write down what are your intentions for the next 28 days, and let's get to work on making them happen. I'm committed to being here with you. I'm asking you to show up, put in your AirPods, your headphones, whatever that looks like, and listen to this podcast. Let this be your guide. If you want more support, then you come inside the Simple Business Institute and let us support you. But right now, your homework for this episode is to write down what are at least 3 intentions that you have for the month of January when it comes to your business, your life, your relationships. Let me know on Instagram, and I'll talk to y'all later.